Good day, everyone. Welcome to Chapter 22, Exile in Dapitan on 1892 to 1896. So, I am Mary Faith Satora together with my partner in this chapter, Miss Eliza Pino. And then we have this quote before we start. We must win. We must win when we deserve it by elevating a reason and the dignity of an individual, loving justice, the good and the great, even dying for it. So this is according to Jose Rizal from his novel Il Filibusterismo. So I hope you can make a relation or connection with this quote on our topic for today. So, general overview. We have exile in Dapitan under the missionary jurisdiction for 4 years, then practiced medicine, pursued scientific studies, continued his artistic and literary works, widened his knowledge of language, established a school for boys, promote community developmental projects, invented wooden machine for making bricks, then engaged in farming and commerce. So, everyone, bisag daghan kaayog mga achievements si Rizal na paghihapoy mga unexciting moments na nahitabo sa iyang kinabuhi. And bisan daghan og mga nanghitabo sa iyang kinabuhi, wala gihapon niya gibaliwala ang iyang connection or relationship sa iyang family, sa iyang relatives, sa iyang loved ones, sa iyang friends, sa iyang scholars dito sa kuan sa laing nasod, and then sa iyang close friend ni si Blumentritt. So nagpadala gihapon siya mga letters like that. So yes, let's start, and I will provide you as well a video related to this topic, the exile in the Dapitan. So let's start watching.
Ang Dapitan ay isang malayong bayan sa probinsya ng Zamboanga del Norte. Ito ang naging isa sa mga kampo ng mga militar na Espanyol sa Pilipinas. Pinamumunuan ito ni Kapitan Ricardo Carnicero na kalaunay naging kaibigan din ni Rizal at pinahintulutan siya nitong libutin ang lugar. Ang tahimik na bayan ng Dapitan ang naging tahanan ni Rizal mula 1892 hanggang 1896. Dito niya nahasa ang kanyang galing sa medisina, sining, pagpipinta at pagsusulat. Nagpatayo siya ng paaralan para sa mga lalaki at pinag-aralan ng iba't ibang mga lingwahe sa Pilipinas. Natuto rin siyang magsala at mag-imbento ng makina sa paggawa ng ladrilyo.
I am going to tell you how we live here. I have a square house, another hexagonal, and another octagonal, all made of bamboo, wood, and nipa. In the square, my mother, Sister Trinidad, a nephew, and I live. In the octagonal, my boys live, some boys whom I teach arithmetic, Spanish, and English. I have many fruit trees, mangoes, lanzones, guyabanos, baluno, and nangka. I have rabbits, dogs, and cats. I get up early at 5. I visit my fields, I feed the chickens, I wake up my folks, and start them moving. At 7:30, we take breakfast, tea, pastry, cheese, and sweets. Afterwards, I treat my poor patients who come to my land. I dress and go to town in my baraka. I treat the people there, and I return at 12 and take lunch. Afterwards, I teach the boys until 4, and I spend the afternoon farming. I spend the evening reading and studying.
Nang naging sikat ang husay ni Rizal bilang manggagamot sa mata, binyahe ni George Toffer ang Dapitan mula Hong Kong para maipagamot ang kanyang mata. Sinamahan siya ng kanyang anak-anakan na si Josephine Bracken na kalaunay naging kasintahan ni Rizal. Nanirahan sila bilang mag-asawa. Ngunit, ang nais na pagpapakasal ay naudlot dahil sa pagtanggi ni Rizal na bawiin ang kanyang mga paglalahad tungkol sa simbahan. Binisita ni Dr. Pio Valenzuela si Rizal sa Dapitan at ibinalita sa kanya ang pagtayo ng katipunan at ang planong revolusyon. Ito ay tinutulan ni Rizal sapagkat hindi pa sila handa, lalo na ang mga armas. Samantala, naging sunod-sunod ang pagpapadala ni Rizal ng mga liham kay Gobernador General Ramon Blanco. Ipinasuri niya ang kanyang kaso at inilahad na kung ang kanyang hiling ay hindi pahihintulutan, siya ay magboboluntaryo na maging isang ministro sa ilalim ng hukbo ng Espanyol laban sa revolusyon ng Cuba. Pinahintulutan ang hiling ni Rizal na pagpunta sa Cuba. Kinabukasan, lumuwas siya pa Maynila. Nang siya ay nakarating sa daungan ng Barcelona, nakarating ang utos na siya ay ipapabalik sa Maynila. Nakarating si Rizal sa Maynila at agad na idinala sa Fort Santiago.
When Rizal landed Dapitan on July 17, 1892, at 7 o'clock in the evening on board a Cebu manned by Captain Grass with artillery, meant to begin his life as an exile. So, beginning of exile in Dapitan. The steamer Cebu which brought Rizal to Dapitan, carried a letter from Father Pablo Pastels. Kani si Pablo Pastel kay mao ni siya ang superior sa Jesuit Society in the Philippines. And then from Father Pablo Pastel to Father Antonio Obac. Si Father Antonio Obac ay mao na siya ang Jesuit parish priest of Dapitan. So in this letter, Father Superior Pastels informed Father Obac that Rizal could live at the parish convent in the following conditions. So first is that Rizal publicly retract his errors concerning religion and make statements that were clearly pro-Spanish and against the revolution. Then, second, that he perform the church rites and make a general confession of his past life. And then, that henceforth he conduct himself in an exemplary manner as a Spanish subject and a man of religion. So, knowing these conditions, wala ni agree si Rizal. Kaya naama siya panindigan atong tayo mga dili siya sang-ayon sa doctrine sa Catholic Church. That is why he lived in the house of the commandant. So, the relations between Warden, Carnicero, and Rizal, the prisoner, kay priso man siya ato, were warm and friendly. Light ra siya. So, Carnicero was charmed by Rizal's fine qualities and personality. So, magdungan sila kaon sa kanang paras nga table and had many friendly conversations, friendly talks. So, Carnicero came to know that Rizal was not a common felon, much less a filibustero. So, he gave good reports on his prisoner to Governor Despojol. He gave him complete freedom to go anywhere, reporting only once a week at his office, and permitted Rizal, who was a good equestrian, to ride his chestnut horse. So, naadjay ka ng privilege, no? Kay nakailaman siyang Rizal ato, so murag ka nang napanatag ra sila ang iyahang loob, na dili mo takas pamaayo si Rizal, so makagawas-gawas ra si Rizal, unlike sa other prisoner nga, dira ra jud sila sa usa ka place, and dili sila pwede mo gawas. So, Rizal, on his part, admired the kind, generous Spanish captain. As evidence of his esteem, he wrote a poem, and that is titled Adon Ricardo Carnicero on August 26, 1892, on the occasion of the captain's birthday. So, yes, yun na to sa Winds in Manila Lottery. So the mailboat in Butuan was approaching in town at nila na ay mga boat na mga opisyales, mga Spanish officials, so nagdali-dali sila agad damay na ang mga tao tanan. And then, pag-abot dito ang mailboat kay ang nakuan ra di ay, ang balita di ay kay ang lottery ticket nga 9763. So, nakadoog dahil si Captain Carnicero, si Jose Rizal, and Francisco Iquilor. Kani Francisco Iquilor, kimaw na siya ang kanang resident sa Dipolog, which is kanang kaatbang or neighbor sa Dapitan. So, nakadaog sila og 20,000. So, ilahang gibahin. Ang kita ni Rizal ato, bahin ni Rizal ato kay 6,200, as you can see here. And then, gibahin ni Jose Rizal, 200 para sa iyang friend Hinda sa Hong Kong, 2,000 para sa iyang papa, and 4,000 para sa iyang investment. Invest niya para sa pag-purchase og agricultural land dito sa Talisay, about 1 kilometer away from Dapitan. So, ang kaning kuan Wins in Manila Lottery kay nagpahibalo ra ni nga kanang si Rizal di ay kay lottery addict. So, Rizal Pastels debate on religion. So, during his exile in Dapitan, Rizal had a long and scholarly debate with Father Pastels on religion. So, nag-start na siya katong hatagan ni Father Pastels Rizal o book Sarda with advice na kailangan si Rizal yun kay kanang ipahawa na niya iyahang foolishness sa mind by viewing from the prism of individual judgment and self-esteem. Ang ilahang interesting religious debate kay through letters. Muna siya ang date sa ilahang pagsandanay, and then si Father nadili siya sang ayon sa Katoliko, pero si Father Pastels wala gyud siya ni nawadan og pag-asa gias isra niya si Rizal nga na misunderstood or misconception niya ang iyahang mga nahibaw-an. So he needs guidance like that, so wala gyud siya ni give up tungod sa day sa mga lain-laing klase nga pari like bad friars. Okay, so it is understandable why he was bitter against the friars who committed certain abuses under the cloak of religion. Daghan magud kaayog mga pari didto kay gigamit ra ang kana nga posisyon nga kana ingon ana para makapangurap, para makaabuso, para maka pangwarta Dili sad na siya ka wanderan kay even sa community ni Jesus Christ, si Judas ni betray niya. So naadjay mga struggles sa mga ingon ana. Pero ang ilahang debate kay wala jud siya nabot nga no conclusion. Kay ang point of view jud ni Rizal, kay ang stand jud ni Rizal iya jud gipanindigan. Wala gyud siya nihawa sa iyang what do you call this one, foolishness kumbaga sa giingon ni Father Pastels. So bisag nag-debate sila ingon ana religious debate kay wala gihapon nila tangtang ang ilahang friendship. So nagsandanay na sad sila og mga butang. So si Father kanang Pastels kay gihatagan niya si Rizal aning imitasyon de Cristo or imitation of Christ. And then kanang si kuan sad si Rizal kay gihatagan pa niya si Father og Saint Paul nga rebulto nga siya sigahimo. So bisan og dili siya sang ayon sa mga interpretation ni Father Pastels sa Catholic dogmas, wala gyapon siya nihawa sa pagkakatoliko because he is still Catholic even sa iyang pagkamatay. Catholic yapon siya, atan siya og mass o kanang atan siya og religious fiestas and celebrate Christmas. Yes. So this one, Rizal challenges a Frenchman to a duel. Okay, so while Rizal was still debating with Father Pastels by means of exchanging of letters, he became involved in a quarrel with a French acquaintance in Dapitan, Mr. Juan Lardet, a businessman. So this man purchased many logs from the lands of Rizal. It so happened that some of the logs were of poor quality. So si Lardet, ihatag siya og letter ni Antonio Miranda. Siya kay Dapitan merchant and friend of Rizal expressed his disgust. Dili ko na siya ganahan sa business deal nila ni Rizal. So gipasa ni Miranda ang letter ni Lardet. Then si Rizal kay naigo ang ihang sensitivity level. So nakuan siya naigo ang ihang garbo. That's why he challenged him to a duel. So when the commandant heard of the incident, Carnicero told the Frenchman to apologize rather than accept the challenge. So my friend, you have not a Chinaman's chance in a fight with Rizal on a field of honor. Rizal is an expert in martial arts, particularly in fencing and pistol shooting. So heeding the commandant's advice, Lardet wrote to Rizal in French dated Dapitan on March 30, 1893, apologizing for the insulting comment. So Rizal is a gentleman and well-versed in Pundonor, Hispanic chivalry code na siya, that accepted his apology, and good relation between him and the Frenchman were restored. So it is interesting to recall that twice before, his sensitivity caused him to challenge people to a duel. Antonio Luna kay nakuan sa niya sa una og si Retana, same year 1890. And then here we go, Rizal and Father Sanchez. So Father Pastels, aside from his personal efforts to persuade Rizal to discard his errors of religion, instructed two Jesuit in Mindanao, Father Obac, Cura sa Dapitan, ug Father Jose Villaclara, Cura sa Dipolog, to try their best to bring back Rizal within the Catholic fold. Furthermore, he assigned Father Francisco de Paula Chan Sanchez, Rizal's favorite teacher at the Ateneo de Manila, to Dapitan. So si Father Sanchez, since Rizal's stay at the Ateneo, had spent 3 years in Europe and returned to Manila in 1881 to resume teaching at the Ateneo and to heed its museum. So he was the only Spanish priest to defend Rizal's Noli Me Tangere in public. So immediately upon his arrival in Dapitan, Father Sanchez lost no time in meeting his former favorite student. Of all the Jesuit, he was the most beloved and esteemed to Rizal. Almost daily they carried theological arguments in a friendly manner, but all efforts of Sanchez were all in vain. For once Rizal could not be convinced by his former beloved teacher. Despite his failure to persuade Rizal to discard his unorthodox views on the Catholic religion, Father Sanchez enjoyed the latter's company. He assisted Rizal in beautifying the town plaza. On his birthday, Rizal gave him a precious gift, a manuscript entitled Estudio sobre la Lengua Tagala. So this is a study of Tagalog language. So a Tagalog grammar which Rizal wrote and which he dedicated to his beloved former teacher. And then we have idyllic life in Dapitan. So Dapitan, makita din nato siya sa Zamboanga del Norte sa Mindanao. Rizal had an exemplary life. Or ang kinabuhi ni Rizal dito kay exemplary. Since August 1893, members of his family took turns in visiting him in order to pawala sa iyahang loneliness to the isolated outpost of Spanish power in the Moraland. So among them were his mother, si sister niya Trinidad, Maria, Narcisa, and nephews Teodoso, Stanislao, Mauricio, and Prudencio. So Rizal built his house by the seashore of Talisay, surrounded by fruit trees. Hindot kay nito kay kanang nature friendly. He had also another house for his schoolboys and a hospital for his He had also another house for his schoolboys and a hospital for his patients. So describing his life in Dapitan, Rizal wrote to Blumentritt on December 19, 1893. So, ano siya ang letter ni Rizal niya. Rizal's encounter with the friar spy. During early days of November 1893, Rizal was living peacefully and happily at his house in Talisay. His mother, sisters Narcisa and Trinidad, and some nephews were then living with him. His blissful life was then suddenly jolted by a strange incident involving a spy of the friars. The spy, with the assumed name of Pablo Mercado, and posing as a relative, secretly visited Rizal at his house on the 9th of November 3, 1893. So he introduced himself as a friend and relative, showing a photo of Rizal and a pair of buttons with an initial PM, or Pablo Mercado, as evidence of his kinship with the Rizal family. In the course of their conversation, the strange visitor offered his service as a confidential courier of Rizal's letter and writings for the Patriots in Manila. So Rizal, being a man of prudence and keen perception, became suspicious. Ngano ka ha? Nagkuan maning strange man kayo niya, ni kalitrag offer og ingon ana. So irked by the impostor's lies, he wanted to throw him out of the house, but mindful of his actions. So, ang iyang gibuhat kay kanang he hospitality invited the unwanted visitor to stay at his house for the night, and early the next day he sent him away. So ano yung gibuhat. And then after the departure of his bogus nga relative, Rizal attended to his daily chores, forgetting the incident of the previous night. So later he learned that the rascal was still in Dapitan, telling the people that he was a beloved relative of Dr. Rizal. So losing his cool, si Rizal kay niadto sa komandansya and denounced the impostor to Captain Juan Setges. So mo ni siya ang nipuli ni Captain Carnicero on May 4, 1893 as commandant of Dapitan. So wala na lain-lain pang buhat ki aresto din si Pablo Mercado and instructed Anastasio Adriatico to investigate him immediately. And ang tinuod di ay kay the real name of Pablo Mercado was Florencio Namanan. He was a native of Cagayan de Misamis, single and about 30 years old. So he was hired by the Recollect friars to a secret mission in Dapitan to introduce himself to Rizal as a friend and relative, to spy on Rizal's activities, and to fetch certain letters and writings of Rizal which might incriminate him in the revolutionary movement. Strangely, Commandant Setges suddenly quashed the investigation and released the spy. He promptly forwarded the transcripts of the investigation together with the official reports to Governor General Blanco, who in return kept these documents as highly confidential. So Rizal was surprised at the turn of events. These available documents on the failed mission of the friar spy have been quoted by 3 Rizalist biographers, so si Ritana, Palma, and si Baron Fernandez. Okay, but none of these biographers quoted the text of another document which is more reliable and valuable to clarify the whole incident. So it is Rizal's letter to his brother-in-law Manuel T. Hidalgo, written in Dapitan, December 20, 1893. So as physician in Dapitan, Rizal practiced medicine in Dapitan. He had many patients, but most of them were poor, so that he gave them free medicine. So as physician in Dapitan, Rizal practiced medicine in Dapitan. He had many patients, pero kasagaran nila kay walay kaya. That is why muhatag si Rizal og free service. Muhatag siya og free medicine. And once, he operated his mother's eyes And then, ang kato sa mga mayayaman na iyahang mga patients kay mubayad sa niya. May nibayad og 500, and nasa nibayad og 3,000. So, it's really amazing kay dako na jud kay ning halaga sa una. Water system for Dapitan. Rizal held the title of expert surveyor, so which he obtained from the Ateneo. He supplemented his training as a surveyor by his reading of engineering books so that he came to know about engineering. In Dapitan, he applied his knowledge of engineering by constructing a system of waterworks in order to furnish clean water to the townspeople. So, handod ron na paghihapon ni siya nga water system sa Dapitan. So, daghang mga engineers nga na-amaze sa gibuhat ni Rizal. So, kay nindot ko no. And then, we have community projects for Dapitan. So, when Rizal arrived in Dapitan, he decided to improve it to the best of his God-given talents and to awaken the civic consciousness of its people. He wrote to Father Pastels, "I want to do all that I can for this town." So aside from constructing the town's first water system, he spent many months draining the marshes in order to get rid of malaria that infested Dapitan. As a European-trained physician, he knew that malaria is spread by the mosquitoes, which thrive in swampy places. So, ang 500 nga gihatag sa English patient niya, kay giuse niya to equip the town with its lighting system. This lighting system consisted of coconut oil lamps placed in the dark streets of Dapitan. Electric lighting was unknown then in the Philippines. It was until 1894 when Manila saw the first electric lights. So another community project of Rizal was the beautification of Dapitan. With the help of his former Jesuit teacher and friend, Father Sanchez, he remodeled the town plaza in order to enhance its beauty. He jokingly remarked that he would make it nicely so that it could rival the best in Europe. So in front of the church, Rizal and Father Sanchez made a huge relief map of Mindanao out of earth, stones, and grass. This map still adorns the town plaza of Dapitan. Napaghihapon ni siya hantod karon gyud. Ganahan kay kumaadto. Rizal as teacher. Since boyhood, Rizal knew the value of good education. So during his travels abroad, he observed the educational system of modern nations. Daghan siya mga naobserbahan ng mga sistema sa edukasyon, and lahi na dyan ang system sa education na rin sa Pilipinas. That is why he himself planned to establish a modern college in Hong Kong for Filipino boys so that he could train them in modern pedagogical concepts, educational concepts, which were then unknown in the Philippines. So his exile to Dapitan gave him the opportunity to put into practice his educational ideas. So, nag-establish siya sa school which existed until the end of his exile in July 1896. So, it began with 3 pupils, and in the course of time, the enrollment increased to 16, nahimo ng 21. In his letter to Blumentritt on March 13, Rizal said that he had 16 pupils in his school and that these pupils did not pay any tuition. So, instead of charging them tuition fees, he made them work in his garden, fields, and construction projects in the community. Rizal taught his boys reading, writing, and languages like Spanish and English. Geography put history, math, arithmetic, and geometry. And industrial work, nature study, morals, gymnastics. He trained them how to collect specimens of plants and animals to love work and to behave like men. So formal classes were conducted between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. hantod to So formal classes were conducted between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. So Rizal, the teacher, sat on a hammock while the pupils sat on a long bamboo bench. So, yun ato ang ilang setup sa una. On one day, the lessons were conducted in Spanish and the next day in English. As in the Ateneo, the best pupil was called Emperor and he sat at the head of the bench. The poorest pupil occupied the end of the bench. During the recess, the pupils built fires in the garden to drive away the insects, pruned the fruit trees, and manured the soil. So outside the class hours, Rizal encouraged them to play games in order to strengthen their bodies. They had gymnastics, boxing, wrestling, stone throwing, swimming, then arnis, and boating. So daghan mga gitudlo ni Rizal sa ilaha ngayang mga nakatunan na apply dito. So mao na siya ang ako ang part, then let's proceed sa part ni Miss Eliza Pino.